Hey docs, happy Friday. Dr. Josh Wagner here. So we've got an awesome featured member share, not a brag, but a share and what he's done differently. So you can use it too. We are a week away from Dallas, literally Thursday night. So 6 days from now, I'll be there early. If you're in early enough, 7 to 9, meet in the main restaurant in the lobby and member connection. It's going to be fantastic. If you're still on the fence, still aren't RSVP'd, make sure you tell us you're coming, get there, figure it out. It's going to be amazing. Thursday night get together, Friday night get together, and Saturday night get together if you'd like to stay. Couple of quick announcements, some wins. Hey, Brian Messamini, quick highlight. Brian Messamini had his best month ever in March, and also stepping up to be a focus coach, which super proud of him and super excited for whoever he's able to connect with and mentor and help guide through the program. Winnie Wong had stress tested herself with a couple of her associates being out and had her first ever 100 visit days by herself, 2 of them, which is pretty cool. And a shout out to Scott Chapman and Carol DeFranca, married couple in practice together, I believe had their best month ever in March on their way up. So congratulations to you guys. And whenever you have wins, share it with us and just be a contribution that way to the community. All right, to the main event. Dr. Christian Nelson, I met him for the first time, I think it was a year ago because it was 2 seminars ago, and he came as a guest, I think, of Brian Asby.
That's correct.
Only stayed half the time because I think he had maybe a screening to do, something like that. He had, his polo shirt tucked into khakis, super wet behind the ears, shared a goal of his, and no one really knew him. And I scratched my head thinking, that's your goal? Like, that's it? Most families, after overhead, taxes, and I knew he had children, like most families, that's not good enough. What's going on? And we encouraged him. He ended up getting in the program, and the difference that's transformed over the last year is he's going to share what's transpired. We've got Jamie on, who's been his focus coach throughout that time. And Christian, I'm going to highlight you because this is going to turn into your show. Spotlight for everyone. Hold on. And why don't we start with, like, where were you? Because it's a very common to relate to other chiropractors. Where were you? Like, how long out of school were you? What was your experience in chiropractic thus far when you came to the seminar? Just like to relate to everyone where you were. Things weren't perfect.
No, it was far from perfect. You mentioned that my polo was tucked into khakis. It was worse than that. They were tucked into joggers.
Your khakis were tucked into your white socks.
No, thankfully not quite that bad. It wasn't sandals and white socks bad, but it was a polo tucked into joggers. It was bad. I was at that point. Let me see. Last year I was 2 years into chiropractic. I got started in April of 19 under a friend. That went so. We had an amicable parting of ways, and then I started for myself January of 2020. 2 months later, the bottom dropped out. And everything I knew of how to try and find patients didn't work anymore. And I had partnered with another coaching company, and everything that they said to do wasn't working for me. 15 months into that, I realized that I was feeling suffocated in that relationship. So I ended that and was floundering about and just trying to recreate the wheel on my own. A friend of mine helped me figure out how to at least be able to get some patients, and that was tremendous. He's actually coming as a guest to this seminar, so that's really exciting. So that was helping. And then I had a conversation with my wife. I said, babe, like, from when I was in student clinic, the only thing that I can remember that I really loved doing was using the stuff from Josh. And she says, okay, well, if you love it, you should use it. I said, okay, well, what if
when you say stuff, do you mean like YouTube videos, Facebook videos?
YouTube videos, yeah, on your YouTube channel. I'd watch that, and I would take detailed notes and try and figure out, okay, I see this, I see that, and I try and like figure out like what's the pattern behind it, what are the things, and I implemented as much of that as I can in student clinic and use it to great success. My patient retention in student clinic was amazing. My relationships with my patients in student clinic was off the charts. It was fantastic.
It's too bad that doesn't pay back student loans, though.
Yeah, yeah, and the fee schedule is a little sketchy in student clinic. So doesn't even make the university money. But yeah, but so I was like, hey, I'll hop in the program. What do you think about this? And she says, well, why don't you use it, like re-implement it, and if it works for you and it makes you money, then you should go do it. I said, okay, that's fair. About February, Brian Asby reaches out to me and he says, like, hey, what are you doing this upcoming weekend? Not a whole lot. He says, okay, come with me to this seminar. And he says, do you know who Josh Wagner is? I said, do I know who Josh Wagner is? Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to come. So I came, sat in the front row and just absorbed everything I could. And I was able to make it for Friday, which was incredible.
And that Friday was just headspace.
It was
not
entirely
even anything
headspace.
practice specific.
And I got about 2 hours on Saturday morning, including the deserving process on Saturday morning. And it was just incredible. I actually left and had the best marketing event of my life to that point right afterwards, which was, it was for a charity, for a nonprofit that raises money for childhood cancer. So they support families directly. It was really awesome, but it was incredible. I came out of there, I was like, this is what this can be like.
Relate even
awesome.
more. What were some of your, let's say, what would you admit were some of your undeserving beliefs at that point in your career when you got to that seminar? And I'm not saying they disappeared or vanished from that seminar, but relate to what, you know, if you have them, there's many others that.
Oh, for sure. Undeserving beliefs. Oh my God.
In relation to practice, not.
Yeah, especially in regards to practice, like having to play small in order to avoid drawing fire. That's probably the biggest one, because I love helping people with complex cases, and I know a tremendous amount of things, and I don't address them in line with, shall we say, standard of care here in the United States. And if you help people with things, you start helping too many people, are you drawing a target on your back? And not having the supporting systems, not having the language around it, not having the relationships that you need to in order to be able to do that correctly. And so the big fear was like, okay, well, if I help too many people, if I am too successful, someone will take me down. That's a depressing fear.
So like, and like not only a fear, but a lack of confidence and certainty in growing to your full potential.
Oh yeah. Yeah, 100%.
All right. So went to the seminar, went back, had an amazing marketing event.
Oh my gosh.
And only was really at a day and 2 hours of the seminar. Yeah. And then just from that, things started to change, even though you weren't even in the program, you got a day of the seminar.
Correct. I had also, I think I got dinner with you that night on Friday night. Yeah, that was awesome. Just because
and I'll give you credit. You brought a notebook to dinner, and you had at least a page or two of notes at the end of dinner, because you're sitting right next to me, and I can't turn off if someone's asking.
It's true. I took full advantage of that. I realized I was the only one who would purchase anywhere near 50 of your books. And I walked up to you afterwards. I said, hey, if I make the order 50, can I get dinner with you? And you're like, sure. So I was like, hell yeah, I'll do that. The note cards made the biggest difference. And what I just did is I took the action items off of those note cards, and I just said, okay, I'm not going to try and implement all of them at once. I'm only going to implement one at a time. Set it up, knock it down, set it up, knock it down. Just go down the list. What needs to happen?
And for people who don't know what the note cards is, we supply note cards for each day, because oftentimes you go to a seminar, you take pages and pages of notes, and by the time you get home, you already lost them, or they're buried in your suitcase, and you have this thing and you're too overwhelmed to go back and try to take it all from your head to the notes into practice. So a system to focus on what are the most important actions I'm going to take outside of all the notes I wrote. And this seminar at the end, we're actually going to build on top of that to have planning and strategy time for taking those note cards and building a game plan. Just so you know, that's even updated for this coming one.
That's so exciting. I love it. Yeah, so I did that, and then April was doing okay. And then in the week afterwards, it became my best month ever. And things have been steadily growing. And then the next May, I think collections increased by 60%. They weren't amazing, but they increased by 60%.
Was it just headspace? Was it confidence? Was it certainty? Was it certain like specific tactics? I'm sure it's a combination, but what do you feel were some of the tangible things of why that you took?
I think it was a lot of the headspace and the confidence that led to the application of the tactics. Because if you don't have your head on straight, then you won't do the things, or if you do the things, you'll do them incorrectly. And that's why headspace has to come first. And so when we straightened that out, like that's why I was doing the same thing. I was the same marketing type event that I'd been doing in March versus that third weekend in April, and completely different result because I showed up differently in that event. And so that made a huge difference. And then I continued to carry that on with me into May and into June, and things went up and up and up. And then in July and August, I worked 6 out of those 9 weeks because we were welcoming our second son into the world, and still did very, very well. Like there was a maybe like a 10, maybe 20% dip in collections, even though I took off 35% of the time. It was tremendous. We implemented packages shortly afterwards. I don't know whether to laugh or to cry actually right now, because and Jamie knows exactly where I'm going with this. She knows exactly where I'm going with this. I was looking at going through a rate increase just recently, and I found in my business archives like a spreadsheet of what the first packages were that I put together. Yeah. I was charging
before the packages. Was it more of that kind of amateur chiro of let's go a visit at a time and see how it goes?
Yeah, it was visit by visit.
But instilling no leadership, no confidence of here's the game plan, here's the results we expect, here's the pathway. It was that just let's go visit to visit, and
it was a little bit of that. And this is where I had the benefit of having been exposed to your material, because I knew that it was important to set that goal. And from everybody from John DeMartini, who I'd been exposed to and tried to when he came to speak at Parker, that was amazing. And then your material, and I'm trying to think who else. But I knew that like leading the patient was very, very important. So I had a piece of technology in the office that allowed me to do postural evaluations and have it like recorded digitally, so I could show them like a picture of how their body was doing, how their posture was doing. And so I'd say, well, based off of this and how you're doing across time, you're now good to go once every 2 weeks. Now you're good to once every 3 weeks and once every 4 weeks. So it was more, okay, here's how you're doing, and now we can do frequency, but there was no end time frame. It was very poorly defined. There was a little definition to it. So it wasn't as bad as it could have been, but it was not good.
Right. And think about it, that that'll proportionally equal, like the ambiguity, the unclarity, the vagueness of it equals the same amount of ambiguity and vagueness in their commitment to you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was always having to message patients like, hey, like, are you making your appointment? Like, having to pre-confirm them, because if I didn't, they forgot about it and they didn't show up. And then I didn't make money because I only collected when they were actually coming to their appointments, which they were supposed to value. It was rough.
What were some of the other, like, knowing yourself now or then compared to a year before, like shifts in your being, communication, office procedure, perhaps?
Office procedures are about 3 times faster. I'm operating out of 4 times as much space. I have a staff of 2 versus had just hired my first assistant. Yeah, we are consistently growing at about 20 to 30% month over month, which
And
is just staggering.
where are we in the timeline now? So this is a few months after the seminar. Have
Yes.
you actually started the program and gotten all the material, or you're still just doing it on your own?
Yes. So I believe mid-June, I actually came on board and started with the program, started knocking things out, established packages, got all of that set up. And that changed everything. There was a huge jump in collections. It was like from April to May, it was like a 40% increase. I was stoked. And then from April to June, I'm sorry, from May to June was like a 60% bump. I was like, holy moly, like, where do I get more of this? Well, in the program. So I dived in, and we did the same thing as we did with the note card, where we did just where we just like, okay, here's the thing we're doing, implement that. Okay, next thing, implement that. Brian, I saw your question. It's chiropractic, and I was started out just chiropractic and myofascial, and I added laser therapy for as a supportive therapy for those things. That's all that we offer. Maybe a couple recommendations for supplements, but it's those three things.
Good question, Brian. Hey, any questions for Brian? Any questions for Christian or more clarity? Just throw it in the chat. We'll make sure he answers it.
Yeah, please do.
Christian, could you touch on bragging about Jamie and how she has made a difference in your headspace, your certainty, staying focused in whatever way you think is appropriate to share?
Oh, 100%. Okay, so first off, Jamie, get your calendar ready because it's about to get slammed. Guys, if you are, if you don't have a coach inside of Patient Mastery, you need one. Second off, if you don't have one, get Jamie. If you can, good luck. Third off, if you find yourself fortunate enough to have Jamie as your coach, you can speak to this fact with me that she is one of the most incredible people I have the pleasure of knowing, because she loves you for where you're at right now, and she also loves you for where you could be, and she empathetically shows you the gap and asks you how you want to address it. And she just holds that tension and she holds that space and she says, okay, where's your next step? What are you going to do? Have you considered this? Take a look at this. And then she'll offer her insight when you say, well, I think this is the problem. She said, yeah, I really don't think so. I think you need to focus over here. Here's why. And then it's like the lights turn on and everything gets clarified. She has an amazing amount of vision. She has an incredible ability to communicate what she's thinking. And then she speaks possibility and light and love into your life. And for people who spend their time turning the lights on for other people, she does for our headspace what we do for people's spines and lives. So yeah, Jamie, love you, girl. Thank you for being on this ride with me.
And I know you're not at the 2 to 3 million a year level yet, but in the past week, I've gotten two docs at that level, pretty much sharing the same thing about Jamie's help. So yeah, just know that it's there when you're ready for it.
Well, we should be doing that at the rate of growth that we're seeing, and which has just been, it's just been steady. It's just been a steady, it's not been like a growth curve. It's just been like a growth line, and it just keeps going up and up. Next April, if not next October, we should be there.
Cool. So
no sweat.
Before we get to the next question in the chat, I want you to share how practice feels now compared to, let's say, a year ago. Like you mentioned in terms of chasing patients and having to remind them, and that doesn't feel good. But just overall, what's the difference in your confidence, happiness, ease? How does that feel? And then we'll get into some more specifics.
So much ease. I show up, it's a party. Like I get to show up and do the thing that I love to do more than anything in the world, which is to get hands on patients and adjust them and guide them through life and decisions to help them improve their lives, not just in the clinic, not just for their pain, not just even for the things that brought them here, but for everything else. I get to pour into them. And it's just what I love to do. Like long-term, like I want to help other docs do that too. So it's like, I gotta make sure that this flagship actually works and that it is a joy to be in. And so every moment that that I'm here, where I'm loving it, and patients are coming in and they're so excited to see us. And they're like, doc, like, can I do this? Like, can I come get it? Yeah, get in here. Let's get adjusted. Every moment that I do that is a moment where I get to watch simultaneously their life change, me just loving my life and taking care of my family. And we're getting ready to welcome actually our third son into the world this coming August. And so just super stoked about that. And I know that this is now a place that you have to be out of your mind not to want to work here and partner with me. And just like, it's going to make chiropractic just turn on its head. And the more practices implement something similar, the more it's just incredible.
Share what that vision is that you have.
Sure.
I know you shared it with me that time we had dinner, and it's probably evolved, tweaked a little bit, but what's the current vision?
Yeah, the vision is I have to, I'm compelled, really. Lord God put it on my heart, and I have no option. This is what I'm doing. Is the difference between like what we do clinically is amazing. The biggest thing that's holding us back as a profession are two things: headspace and business systems. Because if we had the systems to advertise and put this all together and get this out to the world, we'd be operating at a much higher level and really be able to provide potent options for people for whether or not they want to choose allopathy or whether or not they want to choose true medicine. So that's up to them, and it has to continue to be their choice. But we're not going to implement that until we stop seeing ourselves as the redheaded stepchildren. Right? So that's huge. So you got to fix up here first. Like I was saying earlier, like you get the headspace right, then you do the things. And even if you do the same things, you do it differently and you get a different result. So the vision is, I want to put through the business systems that we put in here, the clinic, and like how those systems create just a joyful place to work, that I can provide a rewarding employee for people who want to either become entrepreneurs or who want to be employees. Because a lot of docs get into chiropractic, they just want to be a chiropractor. They don't want to own a practice. They just want to work. They just want to love on people, and they just want to take home a steady paycheck, and they're good with that. Taking that employee and trying to stretch it into an entrepreneur means that they're going to have to recreate the wheel. They don't have the mindset for it. They don't have the desire for it. So they're going to half-ass it. It's not going to turn out good. It's going to reflect poorly on chiropractic and in the patient's lives. They should not be stretched to that level. And the chiropractors who want to be a business owner, who want to grow business systems, who want to do this and expand and leave their mark on the world, they should not be crammed into an employee position. They're going to languish and they're going to be bored, and they're going to do that poorly. So my goal is to create two tracks simultaneously and be able to reward each person generously for what they want to do. If you want to be employed, cool, man, come do this. We got a spot for you as an associate. It's amazing. Come work with us. If you want to be a business partner, you want to be an entrepreneur, okay, come be a doctor, also be an entrepreneur, and do that. And don't be crammed into your little box. And in so doing, I want to open enough clinics to put a pressure on the profession to raise the bar. I want to double the starting pay for chiropractors over the next 20 years, adjusted for inflation. Come on, especially after this year, we have to adjust for inflation. But like seriously, like how do we respect ourselves? One of which is how we pay ourselves. And then becoming a chiropractor becomes a very much more elevated target. Like it becomes a status thing. Like, oh, you're a chiropractor, that means you're really well paid. Now you end up with societal clout, for lack of a better word. A lot of oomph behind your name. You see the DC, you know that's a person of status in your community, just based off of the letters, not just based off of impact in lives, but as far as financial ability, that's significant. And then we have those systems, and we can go toe to toe with the establishment.
Any difference in messaging to the public than what you currently perceive it is, or what they perceive it as?
We can start with where they believe we are. That's fine. We can start there. And that's where we have to. Long term, as far as what chiropractic becomes for them, it's a road to freedom. at its ideal, chiropractic sets you free and allopathy makes you dependent. And I believe you can practice medicine in a way that sets people free. So like you'll have some naturopaths and stuff like that, where their whole focus is to get you off of drugs. Okay, that's awesome. I'm talking in this case about like more standard of care where you end up hooked on, you know, a medication for life. They tell you, well, this is necessary. Your body can't fix itself. And they put these limiting beliefs on you. And I've seen it so much. And it's horrifying. It's frustrating. And it is one of the most rewarding things when I get to do, when I see the light bulb turn on in the patient's mind. They say, "Doc, I stopped this medication and I feel better." I'm like, awesome. What's next? What are we doing next? How do we improve your life? How do we increase your function? How do we allow you to do the things that matter to you? That's what chiropractic is at its best. It's empowering.
100%. And I know you've asked me more than any other doc for clarity and permission in terms of introducing and sharing deserving belief, deserving process with patients. Can you share how you've shared or introduced that inside your practice?
Absolutely. Look on the shelf behind me. It's a whole shelf covered with your book. And here's how we use it. Similar to us in practice, if we don't believe that we deserve the success that we're seeing, even if we hit it, and that's a big if you don't believe you deserve it. But you know, on a little bit of a dopamine trip, right? You can go and hit a huge goal, but you're gonna be exhausted at the end of it, and you're gonna burn out, and you're gonna come crumbling right back. You're gonna reset right to where your set state is. So the number one thing that we talk to our patients, we talk about it on the first day and for at least the first month, and anytime we see them slipping in their results or coming in with the same problem. Have you been doing your deserving process? We send them the audio recording and we tell them, hey, at least weekly, you need to be doing this. Why? Because if you don't, you've been at this state. I had a lady come in, got a text yesterday. First morning in 56 years, a lady woke up without headaches. 56 years is a long time to have headaches. And if they go away over the course of working with me for a couple of months, that is a minuscule fraction of the time that she spent used to having a headache every morning for 56 years. So unless we reset her set point for what she believes is normal, for what she believes she deserves, and what is no longer acceptable in her life, guess where she's going? Back to headache central. And so that belief has to be changed on the patient's level. So we talk about that. We are always affirming the patient's deserving of this. And the way I make it clear to them is I say, hey, if your grandchild comes up to you and says, Grandma, Grandpa, do I deserve to live pain-free? They're like, of course. I say, now ask yourself the same question. And I'm like, okay, did you see the hesitation there? What changed? Something, someone, somewhere at some time taught you that you deserve this, or that you don't deserve the absence of this problem in your life. And so if you're going to keep the benefits, and we do amazing work here, if you're going to keep those benefits, you have to believe that you deserve it. And that's what I want for you. So I take the book, I sign it to them, and I leave them a personalized note as a part of our day one. We just have a day one procedure, right? But then we're talking about it all the time. It's a part of the table talk and all of that, because they have to believe that they deserve it. And they have to believe that other people deserve to come in here and get the same thing too, in order to refer to me. So, yeah.
Awesome. I know I have to butt in, otherwise you can talk forever and it's gold.
Yes, I can. Please interrupt.
The other question from Brian in the chat, let's get into more tangible specifics, and
For
you
sure.
can even start. So main marketing sources, word of mouth, Facebook ads,
Yeah.
live events, referrals.
Yeah.
Before answering, because I know this probably changes, it's not going to be the same this year as next year.
Yeah.
We were quickly speaking before the recording started, and you were saying something you loved about going to the seminars is that you meet all these doctors who are doing different things, what we call the bone,
Right.
and it all works because
Yeah.
of the tone. So that's always to start with when someone's asking, what's your bone, is to make sure they understand that. And then sure, these are the bones that are working because my tone is straight. So take it from there.
I love that. I love that. Absolutely. So I'm not sure I have too much to add to that. So I'm just going to put a little pepper on that and then leave that one be. For me personally, my main source of marketing has been in-person events. Being here in Fort Worth, the lockdown measures were not as severe. They were quite severe for a while, but we did find a way to be able to do in-person events even through the pandemic. And that ended up being the main source for me. And I ended up finding out how to do those very, very well. We've since transitioned to doing some ads, but you got to have the tone straight.
Could you dive into the in-person events, like in-office talks, like just give more specifics, and
Sure.
what you feel, what was it about your tone that made those work better? But go into the specifics, like what type of events would they look like?
Absolutely. So what I realized when I took stock of my business at that point is that I had a lot of time and not a lot of money. So dollars for patients was not going to work for me as far as like ads and like having to wait amount of time for them to kick and stuff like that. That wasn't going to be the way. So I had to get in front of people. It had to be a sweat equity based sort of thing. So what I would do is I would call up businesses and offer free 10-minute chair sessions for their employees. A lot of businesses get very, very protective of their book of business because there's some liability involved there. For whatever reason, they're very generous with their employees' information. I don't know why. Makes no sense to me, but they are. So I found that little crease. I'm like, okay, absolutely. Hey, can I come and provide some stress relief for the employees that would just love to sit in the chair? I know that about 2/3 of them will. A third of people just don't like being touched. I get it. I would just like to come and provide a little bit of stress relief for people. And then if they want to learn more about my practice, or if they want to come see me, we have an offer there. And if they don't want it, it's no pressure. And that's how I would present it to the businesses. And I would call somewhere between 25 and 100 businesses a day in order to book those events when I was getting started. At first, I had to call about 100 businesses to get about 2, maybe 3 yeses. And then as the restrictions lifted, it got down to where it was about every 4th to every 6th business I was getting a yes. And then I would set up an event where it's like about maybe an hour and a half. And then I just say, okay, well, here's the sign up sheet. Please make sure and have this hung up. I'd make sure and talk with the office manager. Here you go. We'll send you reminders as we get closer. And then the morning of, we'd send them the sheet of like little screening sheet. In Texas here, we have to have a certain amount of information recorded before we do anything to a patient where we have hands-on. We didn't need a full exam because we're not doing any adjustment. They allow you to do a little bit of myofascial therapy without having a full exam because you're not really treating anything directly. So very simple. And then that serves as a data capture for me to be able to keep up with those people and follow up them afterwards if they don't book on the spot. And we just had a discounted offer because I got a chance to talk with them for nothing, essentially for my time and effort. So I discounted it and said, hey, we partnered with your business. So it makes them feel better about the business and where they're working. So everybody feels good about themselves. And then, hey, if you want to come and book with me, we have a discounted consult and exam. And then we took the rest and like just added that script for, hey, here's how we're going to do things. So that's how we set it up.
And I imagine when you were speaking to them, you did maybe the first half of the consult, like you connected with them, third essential, rather than trying to explain chiropractic or organization. Yeah. Making sure. Remember, this conversation is for others, not us.
Exactly. And actually, one of the things that I found helped the most is when I actually asked them like how long they've been in the community, things that are actually outside of the consult. That are kind of like at the beginning, like, hey, like how long have you been in the community? Like you find that in the beginning of the consult, just like, just connect with them and just let them know that you've been there and you're helping people and you're going around to different businesses. And so it doesn't make them feel like specifically targeted. I realized that took that away. where you're like, I'm trying to like only help dental assistants, and you're a dental assistant, so you're coming to see me, twitch, like they don't get that feeling off of you. I was like, hey, we've been all over the place, and I've just been helping people just over the past several months. And how long have you been here? And it gets them a chance to talk about themselves. When they actually get a chance to open up, then you learn what actually matters. It actually directly opens up the door to their third essential.
Awesome. So you started off doing that, which most chiropractors, again, not a full schedule,
Sure,
not a big marketing budget, absolutely makes sense. Did you shift to anything else? Did you shift to training someone to do those for you potentially? Like how has it shifted over the last year plus?
absolutely. As of December, we crossed the line to where I've always kept track of, what was some of my key metrics as far as how much, as far as what is the likelihood of, bringing patients to, how many from a certain marketing effort, given certain drop down, certain close rates, and what's the dollar value of that marketing event? Okay. And then I also kept track of how much time does it take to set one up and to execute it, and then to clean up and reset. And we crossed a line in December where it was still beneficial to the practice, but it was not as beneficial for me to go and do those as for other things. So we started adding Facebook and Instagram ads in with the company. That started out being okay, but I ended up having to fire that company pretty early. And I'm really grateful that I had the patient mastery system, and I did still have my in-person marketing system as a backup, because it allowed me to have not to be at the mercy of what ended up being a very horribly functioning system. Great people, but for whatever reason, not a good fit, and it was not good for my office or for my employees.
Got it.
So ended that, started with another company looking for another couple of partners. And while we're doing that, we've switched to actually doing events here in the office, to where we have a sponsor that brings in a little bit of wine. We have some snacks, and it's basically an open forum of like Stump the Doctor, to where people get to ask about what they find interesting versus me giving a talk of what I find interesting. So the focus is all about them, and it's a fun thing to bring a friend to. So
let's talk about that, because I've actually never heard about that. And I was just going to say, I get the sense you enjoy speaking in front of people.
Really?
And
I'll give you that idea.
You haven't mentioned going out and giving talks at all. You just mentioned having people come in and give talks, and most chiropractors choose topics, maybe change it every month, give a talk, explain the Stump the Doctor premise, and it sounds like people like it. So just share that, give that if Docs wants to take it and steal it and start using it.
Oh, for sure. No, I'd love it. I'd love it if you do. So this is not for everybody. Again, this is a bone. All right. So please keep that in mind. I am a very extroverted person. I love hanging out with people, and I love relaxing, just having a good time. So what we did is we created a small event to where every other Wednesday we serve a little bit of wine, some snacks, and then the bid is like, hey, Dr. Nelson will be there, and he'll be giving a small class on trigger points. And that's just my jumping off point. And so one of the hallmarks of my clinic is that we do myofascial work along with the chiropractic. Those were the original two that I offered, and saw just tremendous results with that. And so that's been kind of that's where my specialty, my niche here in the community started. And so that's just, again, that's the bone I'm going with. That's not at all necessary for the function of this. And so what I do is I use that, and then people come in, and I'll be like, hey guys, I'm going to be going through this. If you have any questions, just holler them out. They'll ask a question. We'll go on this tangent. I'll just follow them, and I'll follow the interest of the crowd to where I'm just answering questions and relating it back to things, and then relating it to this other thing. Okay. And well, here's where problems don't go away. And they'll give my explanation in simple terms for how the problems that chiropractic solves for people. And I've got a couple of funny turns of phrase that I picked up from other chiropractors, and a lot of the explanations, like we stand on the shoulders of giants. So if you pick up some things from Sid Sigafus, if you pick up things from DeMartini, if you pick up things like just the way that they have of phrasing things to where it cuts straight to the point, but in a funny, elegant sort of way. Oh, it's fantastic. And then people start thinking about what else is possible. Then at the end of it, I'm like, hey guys, I gotta go. I got my boys at home. Jessica's here for you guys. We do have a discounted special. If you want to get started with us, awesome. If not, please tell someone, about this next event. Our next one is in 2 weeks. If they want to come, just have them reach out. We'll have a little event right like it where they can get a free ticket, come out and have a glass on us, and just come talk to me and see if they love us.
Sorry. Awesome. Can you share, puppy? Can you share, have you done external events and inquired with businesses or groups to speak to theirs? Did it work for you? Did you not like doing them?
Yeah, that's a big ass pain point for me. Because one of the hallmarks of the marketing efforts that were part of the previous coaching effort was basically a dinner with the doc. And the thing that I hated about that is that there was a script and it was all about what the doctor wanted to talk about. It was doctor centered. It was not patient centered. Like it was for the patient's benefit. And if they were passionate about that and they really did want to help with those things, then it was for them. But if they were there more with general interest or they had a different question, like there wasn't room in that talk to actually do that. Also, if you have to back out, we have to look at it from a tone perspective. And I believe it was you or someone else just recently posted in the group the something for something video by Dr. DeMartini, which is just phenomenal. It's up in the group. If you haven't seen it, go scroll, go find it. It's amazing. But when you offer something for nothing, what you're either intentionally or unintentionally trying to do is instill obligation in the person to do something for you. You're giving with the expectation of return. And that's a dirty feeling. That's a dirty, dirty feeling. I hated it. And so I felt miserable while I was up in front of people. It reflected in everything I was doing, in my energy, in my tone. It was raw, and I was paying $40-50 upwards to like between $50 to $150 per person to talk to and to hate the experience. And that sucked. So I would much rather have something where I'm comfortable, where basically it's something for something. It's my time for your time. Come hang out. And ask me a couple questions. I'll give you a couple answers. And if you need some expertise, now we're talking where there's something for something where it's, okay, now my answer's for your dollars. And that is, again, fair exchange where they feel valued and I feel valued. And so like, just come have fun with me, my time for your time. That feels a lot better to me.
Awesome. And the major premise is there's nothing wrong with doing a dinner with the doc. It doesn't work for you. Like you don't like it, but it works for some other docs. And matching, oftentimes what's going to work best is what you have passion and energy and inspiration around. Like some docs would never want to do one of the things you described, whether it's the ask me questions, come and I'm going to give you some appetizers, or go to a business, but it works for you because you feel great about it. And that's important to get back to that foundation. Always thinking about, you pick the 5 chiropractors who get the most patients, new patients every month. They're not all doing the same exact things. Tone before bone. Another question in the chat. Love the certainty. Other than deserving process, what do you find that brings you more certainty on a daily basis?
I think it's easy to forget that our experience inside of our head is also subjective. And it's good to tie things back to the objective results that your efforts are bringing in. Because we can see this clearly with our patients, right? There's their subjective reality of what they're suffering with. And then there's the objective signs on the outside where we're like, I can clean this up for you in 2 months. You want to do it? It's not something you have to suffer with for the rest of your life. And they believe it's something that they're going to have to deal with for the rest of their life. It's like, no, it's not that big of a deal. So it's becoming easier. Thank you, Jamie. To remember that my experience is also subjective for how things are in practice. And so I have to step outside and take an objective look at it and live both. So keeping track of how things are growing, how things are feeling, what sort of results are coming in, and having that outside perspective that a coach can bring, and that, taking a look at your numbers can bring, and patient reviews. Whenever I have a hard time being certain about the value that our care here brings, and quite frankly, that any competent clinician, like I said, like I'm not excluding people who practice medicine, because it depends. It's tone, man. It's tone. It's like, are you trying to empower people and set them free, or are you trying to get them hooked on something for the rest of their life? That's ultimately what it's about. And the way that they practice it, right, is what's the impact on that life? Now, what's the impact on that family? Now, what's the impact on that person's children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren? And the care of one person in your office over 3 months, even if they never continue care with you, is that it drastically changes the direction in 4-dimensional or 5-dimensional space, however you want to think about it. Yeah, I'm a nerd. Okay, let's roll with it. Of like the trajectory of those lives and the lives of people yet to be born, entire generations of people yet to be born are changed in that moment on your table. It's a spiritual experience. It is an altar, if you will, if you want to think about it that way, on which we offer our suffering and error and confusion up, and we receive truth and love and healing from each other, both from the patient to the doctor and from the doctor to the patient. And it creates that community, and in that you find healing, and it changes the direction of generations. No, I'm not passionate about this at all. Why do you ask?
Yeah, so absolutely beautiful, and you went to a very deep tone and version of that. Let's say like a deep purpose. Now to ask the question again, is that something you wake up with every morning naturally, or are there any things you do to help remind you and anchor you, because stuff happens in life, we get distracted, and we're not machines? Anything that helps you constantly anchor to that conviction and passion?
Deserving process for sure. Having regularly scheduled coaching calls to help bring me back, and then just consistently staying in the reviews and thinking about the patients that we love and the difference it's made in their lives. Those three things.
Awesome. I'm going to share some others that I know I hear from other docs that I connect with more often. So Mark Domansky comes to mind, who I speak with regularly, just superstar, rockstar doc. He's had a phenomenal career and also pretty much doubled in the past 2 years with patient mastery. And one of the things he does almost every morning is read success stories, even though he's been doing in the game 25 years, and something that gets him riled up, like, you know, what you're alluding to, you know, drugs get taken off the market only after certain hundreds of thousands or millions of people have been affected adversely, or, you know, a scandal took place. Like he'll read stuff that gets him like, this is what I'm doing this for. So people don't have to suffer that way. You know, that's an example there. When it comes to certainty, or, you know, Dr. Brad, who hosts the Breakthroughs with Brad call on Thursdays, he will go down the wrong rabbit hole of getting stuck looking at the collections on an hour-to-hour basis, which, hey, things aren't always going to be looking good, or day to day, and go down rabbit holes of frustration. However, when we get him anchoring to, hey, why don't you look at your total wealth, brings them down to another level of certainty. Okay, my hour by hour, day by day, week by week isn't like, as this goes up and down, it's not affecting this, which is great. And Brian, this is all answering your question. I know this is very superficial compared to the purpose, but you want to grab on what works for you. And here's some other things. Christian, I don't know what your fees were when you came to that seminar, when you had your pants tucked into your socks, but I know they're different now. And I remember for my, let's say, jumping from 95 a visit to 200 for doing the same exact thing, forced me to be more certain. You wearing a jacket.
Which one?
I want to ask you about. Hey, Nick. Sorry about that. You wearing a jacket, suit, and tie is a different level of certainty when you put it on, wear it, look in the mirror, than a polo shirt. And all of those play a role. Like you can force the certainty rather than organically create it. And I'm not saying they all have an influence.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Christian, can you share, when I see you come to the seminar, you're one of the best dressed, great suit. Can you, and right now it looks like you're in your practice, in your office, and you've got that. And most docs can't adjust, let's say, with a suit jacket on. Can you tell us what's your repertoire while you're adjusting? Just so docs get clear, what does that look like?
Absolutely. Most of the time, actually, I'm wearing this, or maybe I'll ditch the jacket when the patient flow gets a little up and I get a little warm. One of the keys is that this shirt is actually 4 to 6% spandex. I can't remember the exact number. And it's tailored. And if you have not gotten your shirts tailored, please get them tailored. You can actually move in a shirt that's tailored. And so if you're used to like the baggy shirt, like the connection between like your elbow and like you're like tethered to your ribs here, you ever felt that in a shirt that's too baggy? As soon as you tailor it, it's right here and you can actually move. And then if you get a stretchy shirt, a stretchy dress shirt, and they exist, because thanks basically to the evolution of yoga pants into dress clothes, and then it's gotten into everything else, which is awesome. Yeah, you can get a stretchy dress shirt that looks fantastic. So that helps tremendously.
What about the jacket? I think of a typical form-fitting male jacket being tougher to do, whether it's a side posture or certain things. Have you gotten around that?
I don't have problems doing side posture in jackets. Get an athletic fit on it if you can, if that's a good fit for you. Ultimately, if the jacket fits you correctly, make sure it's not buttoned. I think that's one of the things that people do is they try and do things with the front buttons buttoned. As soon as you pop those open, the jacket will just like flare out like this. And it's also possible that I've gotten used to working with something like this because I do jujitsu and I'm wearing a heavy duty gi, which weighs about 3 times as much as this. And I have to grapple with people. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I don't think so. I don't think so.
Hold off on any more updates on aesthetic. We'll save that for another surprise. But
sounds great.
Talk about the difference of how you feel when you look in the mirror dressed like that compared to a polo.
Yeah. Well, what I'd ask people to think about is what are the commonalities of the places where you go when you dress up? If you're going to the bank to ask for money, if you're going to church for a wedding, for a service, for something else like that, you dress up. If you're going to, the Capitol building or something else like that, you're going to important things, you dress up. And so if you as the doctor show up dressed up to your clinic, it immediately signals to your clients that what you do here you believe is important. Otherwise, you wouldn't dress up. And there's different ways to dress up, but it's the taking care with things. And when they see that signature, that tone of how you treat yourself, and that you clearly prepared to come here, very intentionally, clearly prepared to come here to do what you're going to do today, it allows them to understand that what happens here is very important. And then again, your experience is subjective as the doctor. So if you see yourself in the mirror walking by and you're like, damn, I look good, you're going to have a lot of more confidence going into that recommendations conversation. You're going to be looking at, yes, this is my best self.
And you don't even need to happen to pass by a mirror. You just know just from putting it on. It's like you've got your suit on, and I don't mean dress suit like your superhero suit.
No,
like game on.
It's your uniform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brian, you asked local tailor company or service. We'll talk about that in Dallas. We'll get that answer for you. Christian, let's land this plane.
Let's do it.
Looking over what do you most want to share with chiropractors who either are currently experiencing what you felt a year ago, or anywhere along the journey of just what can you share to encourage, empower, inspire, feed into them for more growth?
For more
Undeserving.
growth, I would absolutely say that you have to be a part of a community. I have a board that hangs up in my clinic. It says, be stronger than your excuses. But you can only do that in community, because your excuses have somehow reached a level of reasonable to where they overpower your reasons to move forward. That's why you're stuck. That's why the excuses hold water. And as soon as you're exposed to other doctors who are doing something completely different that you never thought would work, that works, it blows your excuse out of the water. And that's why the tone is so important. It's not the bone. It's not the thing like we were talking about, the dinner talks, everything. It's not the bone, it's the tone. And when you're around other docs, you up level. Being around other amazing doctors that are in this group and that are on this call, like, it's a huge honor for me to get to be around them and to get to absorb that and be like, oh, hey, that's what that feels like. I like that. I want more of that. How do I make that happen? I talk to them and ask questions, and we all pour into each other. And that's, I think the second thing that you have to do is you have to be continually working on something. Because yeah, goals are nice to hit, but if you don't continually have something to go after, then you're going to become depressed. And there's so many reasons for that I don't even want to get into. That's a soapbox I need a ladder to get down from. But the end result is always be improving, always be working on something, and be in a community that doesn't let you sit still. If you do that, you'll always have an action step. You'll always have a way to improve your life and the life of your patients, and by extension, the entire world.
What are you most looking forward to next weekend at the seminar? Which aspect, part of it?
I think it really is being around other people and cheering them on and affirming their deserving and finding more of my excuses to invalidate. Every time I do, it's my practice grows by leaps and bounds.
Beautiful. All right, we're just at the top of the hour. Christian, thank you for not just what you've said, but how you've said it. And it's been in the chat, the level of certainty that no doubt I feed off of. So thank you for that, and anyone listening to this, and to take that into your life with your patients from a place of love and leadership with certainty. Can everyone who's been on this throw in a thank you or a comment, whatever is positive, to Christian? And also, let's give him a verbal, audible thank you. You can unmute yourself. You got first comment is that you're a rock star. So if you could unmute yourself, and then do you give a big thank you, verbal thank you in 3, 2, 1. Thank you, Christian.
Thank you, brother.
Guys, Christian will be in Dallas.
Yes.
Dallas, like he said, just like anyone in Dallas, you could tap them on the shoulder, ask a question, and they're gonna be willing to sit next to you at lunch or dinner or during a session, or it's just the nature of the group. There's no cliques, there's no separate communities. Everyone is there for each other. And I'm excited to see you again, Christian. I'm excited to see so many awesome docs. And anything else left you want to finish on, Christian? Any last parting words of wisdom?
Count yourself blessed to be here. The hardest part is remembering how blessed you are. So take time to savor your wins and savor this community, and remember that if you're not reflecting, you only get to enjoy things once. But if you savor them, you can remember them and enjoy them again and again, and it changes your vibe and the whole group, and it levels everyone else up. So take time to remember that and count your blessings.
Couldn't have said it better. Awesome. Thank you for finishing on that, Christian. Thank you for who you are, everything you're doing, and everything you will do. I have absolutely no doubt in you. I will see you in less than a week. For the rest of you docs, I will see you guys this coming weekend or in a week. And I'm excited. It's going to be the best event ever. It's already the biggest one, and it's just going to be phenomenal. So thank you all for being part of this community. I will see you in the Facebook group or on a group call next week before in person at the weekend. Christian, thank you again.
Hi.